going on, everyone? It's Average THC Guy, and today we're going to be telling probably the most interesting story I've told on this channel to date. I know some of my stories aren't like super interesting, but this one certainly is. So I mentioned in a previous video that I can't smoke for the next 36 days and counting, so about 5 weeks. And today I will be telling you the reason for that, and the reason for that is I got a DUI. So I see no other option or no other thing to do but just to get into it. So this story starts on a Wednesday night, I believe. And it was just like any other night. This was right after my best friend had passed away. Not my best friend, but one of my best friends. And I was incredibly sad. So I was just in my garage smoking the pain away. And I had gotten into a habit of just smoking all day, every day. You know, every waking moment I spent high. And I was smoking in my car a lot before I went driving, which I do not condone or recommend. But that led to what I'm going to talk about today. So, even though I had been smoking, I went out to go check on my friends, see how they're all doing. And mainly my friend Carl. You know Carl from the previous stories. I wanted to go check on him because he was also pretty good friends. And I'll tell you who the friend was. It was Jay. Jay passed away. And so I went to go check on him, but first I stopped at BP to see some of my friends. And I decided that it was time for me to get back on the horse again. So I wasn't still trapping at this point, but I wanted to, help my friends since I had a surplus of Kush. And so that's what I was going to do. So I went to BP and I talked to my friend. We'll call him, what are we going to call him? Let's say Terrence. I'm going to call him Terrence. So I went to Terrence and I said, "Hey, you want to smoke a joint in my car?" And he's like, "Sure." And so we do that, and we just kind of do that, smoke the joint, shoot the shit, and I end up smoking most of it. But around this time, it's about sunset, and so I decide to go. Now it's time to go see Carnival. So I do that. I drive down this country road, and that leads to a country road that leads to the lake. He works at a marina, and the marina's on that lake, so I got to drive down this country road to do that. And on this country, as I made a right turn, I was blinded by flashing blue lights. They had set up a DUI checkpoint. I don't know why they did on midweek night, now that I think about it, but it was there and I didn't know what to do. My friends still, you know, they still flame me today for not just turning around and going the other way, but I decided to drive through it because I still wanted to see Caleb and I thought that I could probably get away with this. So I drive up to him and I'm approached by this one state trooper in he slowly approaches my car and then he says, how are you? And I'm like, fine. And then he says, where are you headed tonight? And I say, the marina. And he says, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to check on my friend. Our friend recently passed away. And he said, have you been drinking any tonight? And I said, no. And then he told me to go pull behind another state trooper car that was parked perpendicular to the roadblock. So I went and I did that. And it was at this moment that I knew I'd fucked up. And I really wanted to say that, but I didn't think I was, in deep shit at this point because I thought I could probably just talk my way out of it, and this could all make a good story. Almost caught by the cops, while high. But that is not what happened. So I I pull my car over and they ask me to step out of the car. Another state trooper actually comes and asks. So I do just that and this the state trooper asked me to get out of the car. I do that. And then he says, uh, have you been smoking any marijuana today? As they had smelled marijuana in the car. And I said I had smoked some earlier, but I actually slept it off. And he asked why my car smells like marijuana. And I said because I was staying at my stepmom's house the other night, and she doesn't like me to smoke in her house, so I did it in my car. So he said, so we just kind of talked a little bit, and then once the state trooper who had originally stopped me came back, I knew that I already knew that I was probably going to be run through this field sobriety test, and honestly, I thought I could pass them. So after that, they decided to run me through, but before they do that, a group of other state troopers come up to me, and they're like trying to like I don't know how to say it. They're like going down this list they have of if someone is caught with marijuana, things they have to have. And one of them is a receipt. Now, this is where I get into deep shit. I bought this off the plug, so I did not have a receipt. So I said, I left the receipt at my house. And then they say it has to be in the original packaging, which it was not. And also, I had brought a scale with me. Now, this wasn't because I was trapping. I swear to God, I was not trapping. But what I was gonna do is weigh out how much I had left after I had done smoking everybody. After I was done smoking everybody out, and then after that's all done, we finally get into the field sobriety test. And the first one is the one you all probably know: walk in a straight line with your feet directly in front of each other, and try to walk in a straight line. And I did that, and what kept happening was I was doing fine for a second, but then I was really nervous, so my leg was shaking. So when I would try to step back on the ground, it would like jolt to the other direction. Like it would almost go at a 45-degree slant. And that's when I knew things were probably not going to end up great for me. Next up, they had me follow that they had me follow their finger. They would hold their finger in the air and then have me follow it. That I feel like I did fine at. And then they had me stare up at the sky with my eyes closed and count to 30. And then they timed it uh, to see if I could count to 30. I don't know what the hell that has to do with driving, but I still complied, and I was extremely respectful during the whole ordeal. I wasn't like picking fights. I wasn't being a smartass. I was just, trying to be as calm and respectful as possible. Even though, as as my political affiliation would dictate, I am not a huge fan of the police, and I don't think that their system is a good one. But it's just my personal opinion. Please don't flame me in the comments. But after that, I was forced to just sit in the car for a couple minutes, like not sit inside, but sit at like the hood of my car while they went and talked. And they talked for like maybe 5 minutes, and then they said, "Well, according to our tests, you do appear to be under the influence, so for that you are under arrest." Because I had asked him earlier, "Am I being detained?" And he said, "No, not at the moment." And so they had me put my hands behind my back, and they they cuff me, and it was those really fucking uncomfortable cuffs that don't have the chain. They're just connected to each other. I don't know why police use those. Those are fucking torturous. But I still did everything as I was supposed to. The cop walked me to my car, and I even said to him as I was doing it, I never thought it'd end up like this. And then I was put in the back of the car, and that's when they searched my car. And my lawyer made a really big deal about this when I was talking to him, but they were searching my car, and they found some stuff, but I didn't see them bring any of it back to the car. I just I assumed they were putting it in bags and we're gonna put it wherever they put evidence. And after it was like 45 minutes I was there, but during that time I was sitting there, I actually got a call on my cell phone and I was able to reach it, but I was very trepidatious as to if I should answer it because I know that the law is that, you get one phone call, but I didn't know if you were allowed to answer phone calls before that. It was actually, um, it was actually John's mom who had called me because I wanted to hang out with John that night, and and I had told her to call my dad and tell him that I'm under arrest, and she did so, but not maybe 10 minutes after that. Uh, hmm, damn it, I keep saying it's just a bad habit of mine. But after that, my dad actually showed up because he was on a call with me as I was approaching the police roadblock. And so I said, Dad, I have to hang up so these cops don't think I'm, you know, on my phone while I'm driving. And so I put the phone down, and he thought I'd gone into an accident or something. So he tracked my Life 360, and then he saw me in the back of the cop car in complete fucking shame. And so after that, uh, it didn't seem like things could get much worse from there. But then the cops got back into the car, and they said, "Am I good to cuff you in front?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I promise I won't run away or do anything like that." And so they did so, and then they drove me to the hospital. Now, at the hospital, I was forced to wait there for like another 30 minutes. This was a long ass night. I didn't even end up getting home till like maybe 1:32 in the morning. And I was arrested at like 8:30 maybe. But after we after we got to the hospital and waited for that like 45 minutes, my blood was actually taken as a sample to see what kind of drugs I was on. And after that was done, they take they took me right to the detention center. After that, I was taken by the guards. I was uncuffed, and then the guard took me to the shower where I was strip searched. Now, what that entails is I was forced to take all my clothes off, and I was also told to lift my nuts up so they could see if I was keeping under my balls. So that's the kind of stuff you go through when you're pinched for a DUI. So I beg of you, if you take nothing else from this story, please do not drive if you've been smoking. Please, because no matter how many times you do that, you're gonna get caught eventually. Like it's just an inevitability. So the way to do that is just to not do it. And after I was given my uniform, and they actually had me put on the orange jumpsuit. I swear to God, I actually had to put on an orange jumpsuit. And then I walked out, and then I waited for some more time. You know, God, that's what I needed more of, was just waiting. And there was one other prisoner there, and like maybe three guards behind the desk. And the one lady behind the desk was like, I don't want to see you in here again. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking be in here again. And after that, the only other prisoner there was like some fucking speed freak who said that she was on like Xanax and ecstasy and she was caught with like meth or something. So shows what kind of people I was in with. But uh, but after that, I was just kind of sitting there, and then they took my fingerprints. And they don't do what they do in like the movies where they put like your fingers in ink and then they have you do it on a piece of paper. At least not that I experienced. What they did was they had you put your hands in water and put it on this iPad type thing, and that thing would read your fingerprints. And after that, a big shining moment. I If I didn't want to stay anonymous, I would really like to show you this picture, but I can't, not for the moment. My mugshot was taken. Now, there is debate among my friends as if I was smiling or not. And I, uh, I was not trying to smile, but maybe I was a little bit because I was thinking in my head, oh my god, I'm actually getting a fucking mugshot taken. And then after that, I was just forced to sit. And then I got what's called, after I was sitting for a while, I had my, it's not my lawyer, but it was my lawyer for my, what's called an ROR bond, where I don't have to pay to get out of there, but I will have to pay like all my court fees and all of that, jibber jabber. And so after I got that done, I was given my clothes back and for my dad to pick me up. I called my dad and I just said, "Hey, I'm here. Can you come pick me up?" And he said, "Yeah." And so after that, after I got all my stuff back, um, I walked out. And the thing is, the detention center was like this big room that had like two hallways, one hallway at the end of it, and like a set of rooms on the right side of it. So hallway on the left, rooms on the right, and the one room on the right was where all the prisoners were sleeping, and that's where I hoped I wasn't going, because all it looked like was just a bunch of people laying on a concrete floor on mattress pads, and that's where Miss Speed Freak went. And I, so after I was let out, I walked down this thin cinder block hallway that had two doors at the end of it, and I was let out outside to see my dad there wrapped in a blanket. And because it had gotten really cold that night, and I don't know why. And uh, I just said to my dad, "I know you probably don't want to talk to me right now, but I'm sorry." And he says, "We can talk about this later." And after that, he drove me home where I was able to get a good night's sleep. And he told me that he and my brother were worried about me, and I was being and so I was driven home and I was able to get some sleep before the next morning. And I was just supposed to go in the next morning and act like I wasn't just fucking arrested last night and went to jail. And after 2 weeks went by, 2 weeks went by and I had my court date. And so the day before, I had met with my lawyer and I had broke down everything. I had talked about how I wanted to go about my defense, and I went over everything I could remember with him, and he then the next day I showed up dressed in my Sunday best, and we went into the courtroom, and I was actually the second case that was read. There was one case ahead of me, and then after that, I was. In my suit, I was on some Harvey Specter shit, like some Saul Goodman shit. Even though I was not the lawyer, I was the fucking plaintiff, I guess. But I said, guilty, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. And, I was then sentenced to 90 days or 7 to 9 hours worth of drug and alcohol education, and my license was suspended for 3 months. So now here we are in the present. I am still not allowed to drive. My brother and my dad have to drive me everywhere. I have to attend drug and alcohol meetings every Tuesday night, and I I have to get drug screened. Now, I had asked my lawyer that court day if I could uh if I was going to get drug tested, and he said no, you just have to get your stuff legally. And so I kept smoking, but and so after first meeting with my drug and alcohol education course, I figured out that I'm not actually supposed to do any of that stuff and I will be drug screened. So that is why I can't smoke at the moment and why I won't be able to smoke for over a month. So yeah, that is the story of my DUI. I really regret it. It's not my proudest moment, but hopefully you all can learn something from my mistakes. Anyway, this is Average THC Guy. Like, comment your story times, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.